just to start, just tell me where you're from.
I'm from Eshcol, Pennsylvania.
Which I could not find on a map. It came up on, I think, Wikipedia as like, I forget, one of those things that doesn't even have like doesn't even come up as a town.
I think it's more of a village.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's defined as.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with the Perry County area, it's just outside of Ickesburg. So that's the defining town.
Yeah. I'm from Falmouth, Pennsylvania, which I think might be just a notch above that size. Because I think, what is it, Eshcol, you said?
Eshcol, yeah.
Eshcol. I think that said, Wikipedia said the population was like 125 people or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
And you grew up there.
Yeah, I grew up right across the street from the Eshcol Church, which is like an old historic church. Yeah, my whole life.
And how did you get started in music? Because I know that church was part of it, but then you kind of moved on from that. Yeah,
I had a neighbor who went to the church. His name was Roscoe Riesinger, and he was like an old-time bluegrass picker and hellraiser. And he would have me down to his house. They'd have little jams and such, and I didn't know how to play the guitar, but I had one, and I would just go down and listen to them holler and back and forth what songs they were playing, and that got me excited to do it.
And then in your bio, you said you kind of found another type of congregation later on.
Yeah, that's where I ran into Ross down at Chicks. That was the stomping grounds where live music was really happening for a long, long time.
And where is Chicks at exactly?
Right outside of Landisburg, off of 233. Okay. If you're going over, a lot of people are familiar with Dublin Gap and Colonel Denning State Park. If you're going to Colonel Denning from Perry County, it's just right off of 233 there.
Mm-hmm. And Ross, you were playing music there as well?
Zach had a mic every Wednesday. I started getting involved in that and telling Zach to come to my house and have a studio I was building at the time and
nice
come out and record it. And
yeah.
Took a little bugging, but he finally came out and
that's awesome.
Here we are.
Yeah.
It seems like place seems to be pretty important in the music. It seems like you're really attached to the area. I'm just curious, what is important to you about the area in, which a lot of your songs kind of are written from, or even mention, there's some of the songs that you do that mention specific locations and things like that. Why is it so important, this area?
I don't know. I think there's just some sort of, I think a lot of Appalachian folks in general, there's like some kind of like regional pride that comes with that territory. And I don't know, it's growing up. Someone asks you like where you're from. You never said Eshcol.
Mm-hmm.
You never said, I'm from Landisburg. Like you just said, I'm from Perry County.
Yeah.
Like that's just what I grew up to know. Like when someone asks you where you're from.
Yeah.
And so I think it just stuck with me from that point. And when I met my girlfriend, Lindsay, she moved to Perry County from Massachusetts. Wow. And she really got me excited about Perry County again when I started showing her all the different things and all the things locally that we'd hang out at and different historical areas and recreational areas and stuff. And then, I just got so psyched on it in the last couple of years that I'm really proud to be from Perry County.
Have you lived anywhere else?
No, I lived in Shippensburg for a little while in Perry County, and I couch surfed all over the place on my friends' couches for a while, but Perry County has always been the staple and all that.
When you were playing at Chicks, which is Laurel Run Lodge, you said?
Yep.
Chicks. What is it exactly that you feel like you kind of discovered there? I mean, it wasn't just playing music, was it? I feel like from what you've described in some of your your bio, that it was something a little more about like community and
I'd say it was like the community and the camaraderie of it all. It's the kind of place that when you go into, and these boys can attest for it, like everyone turns around and looks to see who's coming through the door.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it's not like a mean thing. It's just, everyone's so used to knowing everyone that comes through the door. So it's more of like a getting ready to say hello kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with the area, usually people come in and become friends real quick. It's just it was just a camaraderie thing. And the music was all a part of it too. You'd play and meet people and you'd hang out, and you get invited to another place. There would be more music or whatever. But yeah, I'd say it was a community vibe of everything,
Mm-hmm.
Just hanging out, playing tunes, and it was very family oriented.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this as an outsider coming into like Chicks and what we just played Thanksgiving.
North Mountain Inn.
North Mountain.
That's another one. yeah.
Any place,
Okay.
any
A lot of
place
music.
we've ever played as outsiders over there, it's been a very welcoming entrance.
Yeah.
You know, you get that turnaround at first, but then like when they realize that you're there for a good time,
Mhm.
you don't mean any trouble. It's very welcoming. It's like family, community.
And the patrons love music. It's not just the musicians that are, vibing with the place. Like, the reason we flock there is because the audience, I mean, everyone just, they love live music, and especially original music too. There's very few places I've ever been where you could play your song a handful of times, and by the third time around or whatever, everyone's singing along. It's kind of
Yeah.
a cool feeling.
That is really rare. And
Yeah,
especially
very rare.
You feel like it's kind of ironic that you would find it in a place like that. I mean, because everyone thinks, oh, the big cities is where all the creativity and art is at. And yet so many bands are just like, everyone wants a cover band or something like that. And they get kind of bothered that they can't play their own music. So it's interesting that you find that kind of interest in original music. It makes a lot of sense though, in
Yeah.
a way,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it seems like everyone there is kind of on the same page in that they like where they're from. And, if you're doing music that's from there, they want to hear it.
And there's just like this persistent, I guess, aura or legend that comes along with these places too, because of, a lot of these folks I didn't meet, but like Chick Nisley, who is the namesake of Chicks, he was a fiddle player and he was a musician himself, and like all his buddies would play there. And so I didn't really meet them, but I know all about them because everyone still talks about them, still plays their music. Our friend Chubb, who was a huge staple in the songwriting community, like at North Mountain Inn especially, they could sing you every single one of his songs, It's just like kind of been passed on, and I kind of picked it up from all my peers and people I met at Chicks, and Bobby and Tony Fitting and Gene Nisley, guys like that just were playing their own songs, and it inspired me to do the same thing.
Did you always appreciate it for what it is, or was it something that with age you kind of realized, oh, this is something special here? Like, you don't find this everywhere.
Yeah, I think as I started to kind of travel more with music and getting out more, I'd go to other places, and just even here in Central PA, you can get outside of the zone and see it's just not the same everywhere, and that's when I started to realize, and really with the open mic that we did, we'd get a lot of people that would come out from all over Central PA, and they would kind of describe the same thing. There's just like a special vibe going on there that it keeps me there.
Yeah. I always find it interesting. Like, small towns I actually think in a lot of ways are more rich in culture than like bigger cities have lots of stuff, but I find that it's the smaller towns where you find the more interesting, sometimes oddball stuff. And in that regard, I've always been so much more interested in like finding, like, I'll go for drives and just find like interesting small towns, and often you find a lot of lore attached to those places. And I was curious, are there any like, pieces of lore, things like that are really attached to that
I was
place?
actually told by my director, Lindsay, that I'm not supposed to go on my long rabbit hole, talk about the lore I know.
Okay.
Because I can get real long-winded when it comes to that.
That's
But when
fine
it
by
comes
me.
to Perry County lore, that's like my guilty pleasure, I guess you would say. Because there's, there's just so much, as with the whole area, but there's just so much history in Perry County, and it baffles me. And I have a friend there's 2 history books that were written about the county that tells you all kinds of different things, and he really inspired me to read the book and find out about different things, and then go hiking and try and find the locations where the places were and see if there's any remnants left of this or that or whatever you're looking for. And that sent me on a real long rabbit hole, which I'm trying to stay away from. But it sent me on a long musical journey. We went to a place that we found out about in the book. We learned about the significance of the area. We found out that it had some really interesting musical origins as well, and that set me on this long, journey. I wrote a song called the Perry County Waltz, and we're working on recording a song called the Blue Juniata, which was apparently the first commercially successful song ever written by a woman. So
Yeah.
we're pretty excited and honored, really, to continue that moving that history forward and making sure it stays relevant to today.
I was reading a little bit about Blue Juniata and because you mentioned it, and you didn't do the song today. I think it's in the Perry County Waltz.
It is, yeah. We mentioned it.
You mentioned the Native American name
Alpharetta.
Alpharetta, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool. So you're in a way you're sort of documenting and building upon like the things that the stories and
Totally, yeah.
That's
Totally.
really cool. It seems like we're in danger of those kinds of things being forgotten sometimes, I think.
Definitely.
And I just think it's so cool when people are.
And I feel like there's just, and it happens, I think, with every generation, but, there's just a gap right now between the people who really took a lot of time to preserve and maintain the records that are out there and in existence, but then keeping the younger generation involved is always the hard part, I guess. So I don't know, I feel lucky to have been interested in it, and I feel lucky to be kind of the person bridging the gap between the generations and getting people involved and excited about it.
You need a TikTok channel to document all of
Yeah,
this.
that's the last thing I need.
Do you feel like there's an overarching theme in the music that you write?
Yeah, I think I think I used to dwell a lot on my own personal experiences and on things I've seen around me in life. But as I guess begin to grow as a person and as a musician, especially with these guys here, I feel like my life is still reflecting the music that I make. Like I said, just getting excited about the history stuff, it just sent me in that direction.
Yeah.
And inspired me to write songs like that, which I never had done before.
Yeah.
I've always written about something that I was, experienced or knew. But then all of a sudden, I'm like reading books to make sure I get the facts right in the song that I am putting down, So
Doing a lot of research for.
yeah, it was a very different approach in doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it, and I'm excited for all the projects that we got coming along with that.
And the band is new. You'd mostly been playing solo, right?
Yeah, totally. I played for years, and I played with Bobby and Jake a little bit and Ross a little bit. But this is the first time we've ever really come together as a full unit. So,
Has there
I'm really
been any
excited.
full-length recordings with the band yet?
No, not at all.
Okay.
This is the first one.
Nice. Cool. You've seen it here first.
Yeah.
How has it been playing with the band? I mean, going so long with, just doing things solo yourself. I mean, that's a whole other beast to try and, not that it's totally unfamiliar, but I mean, it's a very different experience to work with 3 additional people.
It very much is. And it's hard on me because I'm so used to just kind of freewheeling it, I guess. And these guys are like, hey, man, you got to reel it in. But no, it's been great. It's been great to build these songs up and really give them the sound I really always envisioned in my head and always had planned for them. It just never really came out. Mm-hmm. In the resources I had or in the time I had to commit to a project like this. So I'm really grateful for these guys to help me fulfill this dream, I guess you would say.
And the 2 songs that you did today, are they relatively recent songs or are they older songs that you brought to the band?
Grow Up and Settle Down was probably like 3rd song I maybe ever wrote in my life.
Wow.
Probably around like 2012 maybe. 2013. Pretty old song.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio is a relatively newer one. I probably wrote that in the last probably 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're probably the older ones in the catalog, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and tell me about each, like Grow Up and Settle Down. I mean, is there any, you can tell me what it's about or just, is there a particular place in mind when you're writing it? And if anyone else has any input on the songs too, even just about trying to orchestrate the parts, anything about the song that you thought was interesting.
It's been really great to build it up with the band, I'd say personally. I love playing it with them because I feel like now it's like it just has the movement that I've always expected it to have, and the impact, I guess. But I'm not really growing up or settling down, I guess, in any regard, but working on it and inspired to do so, and that's kind of why you write songs, I guess, sometimes is whether you're living by what you're saying or not, it's kind of helping you work through whatever it is you're going through. And at the time, I really should have been growing up and settled down.
In comparison, I think it's safe to say that you're grown up and settled down now more than what.
Yeah, more so than I was when I wrote the song. That's for sure.
14, was it 14 years ago? 15, almost. Yeah, like 14 years ago.
Wow, it's
15
actually
years
really
ago.
weird to think about.
I
It
know.
like that, but yeah, no, it was just like a weird time. I was like in college. I think I was getting evicted from my apartment. I don't know if I was being forcefully removed, but I was being removed.
You left at any rate, right?
At any rate, I was gone. But yeah, it was an interesting time in my life. So I just, I sat down and I wrote a song about it, and none of it really, it just comes out. That's how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't really focus too much on, how it comes out. Sometimes it's just a matter of wrangling it at the time, I guess.
Yeah, just catching the words and putting them down.
Yeah. I don't really have like a process or a philosophy behind any of that.
Yeah.
Just
Are you typically write by hand?
yeah. A lot of times I come up with it. It seems like I'll come up with stuff when I drive.
Yeah.
Driving is the time, but sometimes it hits you and you just write it down as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Ohio was one of those songs. I wrote that in like 2 seconds after I had a conversation with my buddy on the phone, and that was it.
Do you ever? I ask everyone. Most people I run into, I ask this question. Those songs that just come out, that just happen so quick. A lot of people will ascribe that to something. It might be God. It might just be, some people take a more spiritual approach. They think it's just like certain doors in their mind are open at that particular time. Do you have any? What do you ascribe that to when a song just like comes out? I think most musicians have had that experience where like you're like, what just happened? Like we just wrote something in 10 minutes or something. What do you think causes that, or why does that happen sometimes?
I wish I knew, because I would certainly make it happen more often. I don't know. It's like a lightning in a bottle thing. I think it has to be you're committed to it and you're ready to be channeled, because there's so many distractions in life, and a lot of times if I have something in mind that I am working on and I can't seem to dig it out or whatever, I live in the state forest, so I just drive up in the woods somewhere and find somewhere quiet and leave my phone behind and just try to not be distracted is like the biggest thing, I think, because it's so easy to be distracted. But when it comes, you just gotta, and you'll know when it's coming.
Right.
So you just ride the
Right.
wave. Yeah.
Anybody else? Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like
Say Bobby might
why
know.
it just works sometimes and other times you can't write anything?
Yeah, I got my opinion would be the completed idea of what you want your finished product to be. I think I remember when I first started writing, it was like my ideas were too elaborate. They were too big, and I was writing these songs and they were all right, but they were 5 minutes. And you lose somebody after 5 minutes. So when I started simplifying my ideas and really just taking maybe that original idea and just taking a piece of that, when I knew what the end product should be, it was easier to sculpt the stone and chip away the pieces to that finished product that I'd already had in my head. And that's when it's the easiest for me. When I have a finished product in my head, I know what it's supposed to be, and you find the chords. And it's not so much finding the words as it is just trying to get your point across. And when all those components come together, the words just they find themselves sometimes. It's a surreal, indescribable feeling unless you've experienced it yourself. There's no way to really explain it. But when you get that finished product in your mind, it just all seems to flow.
It's like if you're working with something that's kind of foggy or nebulous, like you keep trying to do little bits and none of it seems to really connect. But if you have that one concise idea, I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
And for real, I started breaking it down instead of sitting down and writing a whole song. Like Zach said, you get an idea in your head, write it down. So now when I have that idea, but maybe this needs a bridge or a couple words here, a couple words there, I have a whole catalog on my phone, and then I have that written down in case I smash my phone or something. I have everything written down and in my phone, so I can go back through and be like, oh, I really like that line, and just fill in the pieces then with lines that I might have wrote 3 years ago about something totally different, but it fits. And it just all kind of comes together when you get a little algorithm. It seems to work for you a little better. But I learned that lesson the hard way. That was trial and error, mostly error.
That's a pretty disciplined approach you've got there. Like you're documenting little bits and just keeping them.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because when you tell yourself like, oh, like I can't tell you like Zach said about driving. I'll be driving, I'm like, oh, it's such a good line. No way I'm going to forget it.
Yeah.
And then by the time I get to my destination, I'm like,
it happens so fast.
No, dude, it's never going to be spoken into
and
existence.
those are the hardest ones to get back.
You got to pull over. You got to pull over, get the phone out, write it all down.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you have that to grab from someday.
You got to write it down right away.
Yeah.
It seems like the harder you try, it's almost like you have to just keep going on with your life, and then maybe it might, come back.
I got this
to you
one
or
song
something.
I've had in my pocket now for probably 2 years. And every now and then I'll think I get a little closer to finishing it. I'll sing it in the truck. And it's still not done. You know, it's just like
it's
just you know what I mean? You're like, this is all good up into this one part, and then I can't get over that one hump.
Yeah.
Well, we'll maybe finish it together here as a group, but sometimes it's just like that. You got it, but you just can't get it done. You know?
Writing is it's a terrible process in some ways. Like I used to write songs too, and it's like I always hated it, but man, when you got it done, like because you're agonizing, you're sitting there agonizing over stuff, but then when you've got it and it's good, you're like, well, okay, that was worth it.
There was like a TV show for a while. It was like, I think the Foo Fighters, and I forget what it was called, but they would go to different places and they would record, and it was based off the history of the studio or whatever.
Oh, what was that?
Sonic Highways.
Is that what
I think that's what it was.
And it always blew my mind that they would go in and like come up with the song, and they'd like track the song or whatever, and then they would have no lyrics or anything in mind. And Dave Grohl would just like disappear for a couple minutes and come back, and he'd be like, all right, here's the song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, you want to put that down? But some people, it's not even, like I said earlier, sometimes it's not even about you at a certain point. You just put it out there.
Yeah. Some people just, I don't know, have like the right doors unlocked in their brain or something.
It's different trying to sit down and actually write a song as opposed to when you're sitting down when you're guitar noodling and something pops out and the right words pop in your head, the right melody pops in. That's how you do it. Like what you were saying on the spot. Like it's the right moment, the right time.
Thing,
But it's really hard to sit down and actually try to write something.
Make that happen, and there's discipline to that too. Like I've interviewed some people who have worked in Nashville, and like it's like a business. Like you sit down and you have songwriting sessions with people, and it's like
in an office, and that's what you came there to do. Yeah.
It's just interesting that there's, music is different for different people, and it fills different. I don't know, like that to me would not be. I feel like that wouldn't be a real satisfying thing, but. I'm also I've never been disciplined. It's like I just write when I feel like it, but that can be bad too, because then maybe you just never get around to making stuff.
Yeah.
So
I've always been fascinated with that 4 or 5 people together writing a song and having an idea. I've always been fascinated with that thing because it seems like a cool process, and it seems like a well-oiled machine, I guess, in order to get it out. But then you also hear some of the end product that becomes that, and it's like. Okay.
I think that runs the risk of robbing your finished product of the authenticity.
Yes, very
much.
much.
Like you see, everybody's got their own method, and there's not one that's greater than the other. Different strokes for different folks. But I know people that will go and they'll sit there and they'll write maybe with 1 or 2 other people, or maybe by themselves, and they'll grab like a rhyming dictionary and a thesaurus, and they come out with this end product, and like the rhymes are really witty, the wording, the phrasing.
That's what gets me. Is some of it is really creative.
That's awesome. That's creative, but like
it loses soul at a certain point.
But then you got somebody like Evan Felker from Turnpike, where I smile and turn my shopping cart around and walk away.
We love
he puts me there. Like that's authentic. Like he didn't get that.
Painting a picture is something that's always been my buddy Chubb, who I cited before, and he's these guys met Chubb, and he was a big inspiration to everybody as a songwriter in Central PA, I guess, if you knew him, because he was always about that, painting the picture, and whether it was a good picture or not, you know, you had to make sure you paint that picture.
Yeah, that's interesting. You can kind of tell sometimes when these songs are, like you said, they're real clever, and they're like everything about them is just kind of spot on,
like
and yet you
AI.
can tell no one actually experienced that. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
no,
that wasn't written like
Yeah.
that wasn't a real situation or something. I don't know. It's interesting.
Everybody knows that. You take Ohio, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, there's 4 of us sitting here, and I bet you there's 4 different people being thought about when you sing that song. Everybody knows somebody
Yep.
that is not completely content with their work life, with their current situation. Everybody knows that. It's a very relatable topic, and you know, you're thinking about one person, I'm thinking about somebody.
Yeah.
It's just very relatable. It's very authentic to me.
Sometimes I have this thing where I'll write a song too, and maybe this happens to a lot of people, but you don't realize the depth of the thing you've created, you know. And so, like Bobby said, when I wrote that song, I did very much so have somebody in mind and a situation in mind. But I remember the first time I ever played it out somewhere, and somebody said something to me about it, about very much experiencing the same kind of thing, and that was a big eye opener for me when someone else relates to something that's totally outside of their realm.
Right.
You know?
You're kind of stuck in the frame in which you wrote it.
Totally.
And someone else is coming at it with a whole different framing. And that's,
Yep.
that's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
To quote Dave Grohl again, I think he's had some line.
I'm not a fan of Dave Grohl, just so everybody knows.
But no, it just so happens he said this too. He said the beauty of music is you could sing a song. He said it was something like this: you could sing a song to 80,000 people, and you have 80,000 people singing it back to you for 80,000 different reasons.
Yeah, which that is a
I
very
was like,
cool thing. Yeah,
that's
totally.
I'm going to title this feature "How Dave Grohl Inspired Zach King."
Yeah, totally. It's so funny we mention him so much, and it's like someone I don't even really listen
Dave
to.
Grohl.
And you've been archiving and documenting local music, local musicians. I know in a phone conversation we had talked about Al Shade.
Yeah, totally.
Tell me about how you got interested in doing that, and who are some of the people that you've come across.
Again, this sounds redundant, but it all comes back kind of to Chicks and Laurel Run Lodge. Gene Nisley, who is a good friend of mine, and we played a lot of music together over the years. His dad was Chick Nisley, and he was a famous fiddler. He played on WHYO and WIOO radio stations in Carlisle, which were some of the first radio stations that I worked at right out of college. And so there's just been this kind of revolving door of these guys, and it keeps popping up in my life and stuff like that. And recently, Gene Gate found a tape that they had pulled off a reel-to-reel somewhere at the old WIOO studio, which burned down in like 2010. So it's really the last piece of radio history and local music history, I guess, from that time. And I got to digitize it and make it available for Gene and his family and other people. But in the process of it all, I was like, wow, there's a lot of local stuff that, it was Baldwin Recording Studio in Mechanicsburg did so much local music. If you were a local musician from probably the 50s to sometime in the 80s, I think, when they went out of business, if you made a record, it got made there. And so there's so much of that music out there, and a lot of it's really cool, like cool old country music, and Al Shade's responsible for a lot of that.
Yeah.
And, Chicken Clark's Road Apple Rodeo is another one.
Okay, I've never heard of that one.
Bunch of Gene's dad's band was called the Blue Mountain Ridge Runners. Bunch of old bands on there, and I got a jukebox in my kitchen, so
Really?
I inherited it from my great uncle,
It plays records?
and it plays 45
Oh my
records.
gosh.
So I have a strong addiction with buying 45 records, and I got a couple sources here in the spread out. They text me all the time. Hey man, I got a pile set aside for you.
They come up with a trench coat full of 45.
Yeah, and
man.
I'm a junkie right now for local records, anything that was especially recorded in Pennsylvania. And I've just been trying to digitize it and save it, and someday I'm sure someone will want to hear it.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Old 45s. I mean,
We
I'm-
can start a radio show over here.
yeah,
That'd be
no, I
pretty
mean,
cool.
I'm not going to lie. Like you mentioned that, I'm like, man, that isn't like something should be done with that. You know?
Yeah,
Like, I
there's
think it's super cool.
The best one I found recently. My friend John Miller and I went on a record hunt 2 weeks ago, and I found a song. It was recorded in Williamsport. It's called "Put Your Fanny in the Susquehanny," and it is a rocker. It's a straight rocker.
That's great.
Yep.
Are you interested in covering any of that? Can you play any of these songs, or are you?
You know,
interested?
actually,
And is there copyright? I don't know.
I've been playing some of them, just ones I've learned from Gene and his old man and stuff like that. But recently, I actually learned an Al Shade song only because we were doing this thing, and I learned a song of his, and I played it at the North Mountain Inn probably 2 months ago, and I was very surprised. There was a fellow in the crowd. He was singing along every word, and he said I had that record whenever he was doing his show in Middletown or whatever, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. So there's people out there that still connect with it and stuff. So I think it's important to. And Al's still on the radio and still doing it. So.
I have to say, I cannot believe that he's still alive. He's so.
Oh yeah,
he's old.
He's got to be 93, maybe.
Yeah, we did. We interviewed him. I think we probably talked about that one.
Yeah.
Point. We did a interview and performance here in this studio with him. I mean, he was really old then, and I just can't believe. And I went to his house and saw his recording set up, as
That's
how he
awesome.
records and stuff. And yeah, he's just an amazing. I don't know.
I've been meaning to write him a letter or something to get in touch with him.
He's real sociable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember how long I hung out at his house, but he's just more than willing to chat about stuff. I don't know how he's doing now. This was, 2017 maybe.
I saw because I'm an avid Al Shade fan. I saw someone commented on a YouTube video 4 days ago and said that they just listened to him on the radio.
Oh yeah,
last week. He
Interesting.
still does an internet radio show, I think, out of his house.
I gotta look him up. That's so cool.
His song "The Devil Made 3 Mile Island."
Yeah,
that's like a masterpiece.
I heard you guys talking about that.
Yeah.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
The dude just wrote so many cool, regional centric songs, as well as great country songs. And he you can just tell he's a fan of the music first.
Oh yeah,
and that's what inspires him to do what he does. And I think that's the coolest thing.
It's all he knows, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just his entire life. Is
my friend Darren Hackard has a line in his song where he says, "When it comes to work, I refuse to play," or "When it comes to work, I prefer to play the jukebox in my mind." Mm-hmm. And that's the one line that always kind of summed up my mental process.
Yeah, that is really cool. Are there any other local musicians that are still alive that I should check out or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of these guys are getting up there in years, so I don't know that they really play a lot. But Calvin Ott was always a big one from Chicks. He'd come out and play. He played at one of our last open mics we did and had the whole place crying with a couple gospel numbers he did. Cameron Malloy, the old Canadian cowboy, I like to call him. I met Cameron at Chicks, but he was a Canadian rock and roller through and through. And he put out a bunch of great records, really awesome. I guess you'd call it outlaw country honky tonk from the 70s. And he was, I think, signed to CBS Canada and stuff like that.
Wow.
He told me stories about playing with Hoyt Axton and Emmylou Harris.
Wow.
He played my 30th birthday party at Ross's house.
Really?
My
That's
girlfriend
awesome.
knew I was an avid fan. I was hunting down all his stuff, and he was surprised that some of his records were going for what they were online. And
Really? That's
and,
interesting.
Yeah, he signed them for me and stuff. But he plays all over the place. He still plays in Chambersburg a lot. He has a band called Cameron Malloy and the Driving Wheel.
Okay.
Those guys are fantastic, and I'm going to be doing a writer's round with them sometime this summer. I have it on the books.
Okay, I'll definitely look him up. I don't think I've come across that name before.
Yeah, Cameron's great.
That's awesome.
Great guy. He'd be a good one to have in here. As well as these guys too. I guess I should mention these two fellows right here. They play in a band.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Not this band, the Jacks.
Right. What's the band?
And Bobby's the front man.
It's called the Jacks. It's
Okay.
me and Jake here, and then three other guys.
I might follow you with the WHF Music account. I'm not sure. It sounds really familiar.
Okay, yeah. We just we do mostly original stuff. We're actually, I don't say mostly original. It's
It's all original.
Not Dave
Yeah,
Grohl cover.
it's all
Bobby was a big inspiration. of mine.
Because the covers that we do are covers that nobody's ever heard of anyway.
Yeah.
So it's,
Well, those are the fun
Do a
ones.
little
So.
medley, a little.
but yeah,
little
yeah,
mashup.
do a little mashup that to get the crowd going. Sometimes we
I
get
met Bobby at an open mic, and he was the only dude playing his own original songs
Uh-huh.
at the place that we were at. And I like didn't even know the guy. I think I came there to meet him, or maybe we just met that night. I'm not sure.
we had a mutual friend. You
A
were going
mutual
there.
friend
You and John were going.
was introducing
our
us.
lead guitarist had met him.
That's what it was,
He
yeah.
was like, "Yeah, we got to go. You got to go. I got to introduce you to this dude." I met him at a show, and like he's like, "I think you two will really hit it off." And then like Ross said, like, "Here we are."
Here we are,
That was some
literally, yeah,
time.
that
that
was
was some
the-
time ago, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
And,
and yeah, Bobby was playing his own tunes, and I was like right away, like, again, I said I was inspired by what Bobby was doing and the songs he was writing, and I was like, yeah, we can do this, this is cool.
Yeah.
So it's really an honor to have these guys, playing with us. Ross, Bobby, Jake, some of the best musicians I know, and some of my best friends, really.
Yeah.
Jake's my new friend, but he'll be my best friend soon enough.
Yeah. Learned his last name.
It's like a-
So, yeah, I got his last name down now. so.
Making progress.
But it's funny how you can be friends with people, but like we don't see Ross and I live right down the street from each other, but like Bobby and I would go like years maybe before we'd see each other and stuff, and it's just like it's just always clicked with these people, and so it is really cool to be building it together as a
I would
crew.
say months. I wouldn't say years,
Yeah.
but it's definitely
It's
months.
been a long time, yeah.
we just show off like it hasn't been any time.
Yeah.
It's real
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Are you still doing the concert series in the summer?
Yeah, we have we don't have anything scheduled yet for this summer, but we do have. I don't know when this is coming out, but March 8th, if we could plug it, we're doing a house concert on March 8th at Tuscarora Records, which is Ross's home studio.
Oh, is that yours? Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
I've been following. I mean, I've tied along with you. I've been following, Tuscarora Records.
Yeah, we're going to be having a fellow named William Matheny and his band. They're from out of West Virginia. They're really incredible. William himself is a great songwriter. Incredible band. And we're going to have a local guy, Austin Klein from Lancaster. He goes by Dog in a Boy Suit. He recorded 2 EPs actually at Tuscarora Records.
Okay.
And so he's going to be the opening act. And
Nice.
so we're super stoked about that.
So these are done at the studio then, which
Yeah.
is your place? Okay. And this is also up in whereabouts is that?
It's out Laurel Road where we live. Like
Okay.
where Chicks is, it's out that road 3 miles.
3
Okay.
miles past Chicks.
Nice,
It
nice.
all revolves around Chicks.
That's funny. And over the summer, you were doing like outdoor concerts or something?
Yeah, we did. We built a stage a couple years ago, and we didn't have too many last year. It's just quite an undertaking to put these
Yeah.
put these things on.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we have had quite a few shows out there now. A bunch of bands from all over, and it's awesome. And Ross has been really cool about like kind of harvesting the local scene and giving us all a place to play because it's not easy to get gigs out there.
Yeah.
So it's cool to just have a cool place like Ross's to
Yeah.
put on a show.
So you're very much just the into the local scene. I mean, you're kind of involved in all of this as well too. You sort of came up in the. Did you also come up, playing at Chicks and stuff like that?
I did not know. I moved in that area like 10 years ago. And
Oh,
just
okay.
stopped into Chicks for like a beer and food one night and bumped into this guy. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got sucked
But
in.
I've always had music around my life, my entire life. It just follows me around. So
Nice.
yeah.
Did you play like in bands or anything like that before moving to the area?
I've done my own stuff, my own band, and this always seemed to fall through. Put all this effort into getting this band to be top notch, and
Yeah.
somebody's got to leave for Colorado or something.
Right. Right.
Which happened to
You
me
know.
too, obviously. Don't feel alone.
It's tough. I mean, to try and get all the pieces to fall into place. It's
When
not
Colorado's
easy.
calling.
Right?
Yeah, well, that too. I mean, it's so gorgeous out there.
It's mediocre. It's it's no Perry County.
That's funny. True.
Nothing is. We kind of hit on a lot of the stuff. Was there anything else about the music or the band or anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up? And not we don't need to talk about like show dates or anything like that, but just anything else that you feel like we didn't hit on.
No, that about sums it up. I'm just
Okay.
a fella from Perry County looking to play some good music, country or what have you, and these are the fellas I've chose to do it with. I'm pretty excited about that. So,
What is the significance of Blaine, Pennsylvania?
it's the home of James Blaine.
Okay.
He was the founder. It's home of one of my favorite restaurants, if I could plug that, the Blaine Hotel.
Oh, okay.
I hit that a lot on the weekends, and it's the second to last town outside of Perry County if you're going west.
Okay.
New Germantown's the last one. Blaine, I went to elementary school in Blaine Elementary. And I think this used to be from the Hydadale. It used to be a pheasant hunting ranch, I think, out in Blaine, and you would pay money, I think,
Nice.
to hunt game-raised pheasants, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Was the deal.
Were there any weird, I say weird in an affectionate way, but like interesting or weird celebrations? Like, so my little village of Falmouth has goat races every year.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think they do them as of like a year or two ago. And then like I was up at Dewshore, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and they do outhouse races. Are there like any weird celebrations that happen in the area around there?
I don't know about any.
We used to have the rattlesnake hunts. That was a big
Oh,
deal.
we did have the
Rattlesnake.
Landisburg used to have the snake hunt,
Okay.
which I've been advocating for the return of for a very long time.
What is that?
But
all
I
about?
guess it changed because they changed the season, I think, the season in which you hunt rattlesnakes. And I think the idea is that you go out and catch a rattlesnake to eat it,
Okay.
I think. Probably
Okay.
skin it too and
Was there
do
an
something
actual
cool with
season
it.
for hunting snakes?
I think there still is because
Oh.
in Cross Fork, Pennsylvania, they still have an active, it's called the snake hunt or Cross Fork snake wrangle or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's like a big thing. But it used to happen right in Landisburg too. But,
Interesting.
and they would go to the Tuscarora State Forest to do the hunting. But
So it was just a bunch of people went out and hunted. It wasn't like a huge festival or anything.
oh no,
like
they'd
that.
bring them back. That was the thing. They'd bring them back to the fire hall where they'd have like these little areas that were like fenced off, and they'd have like a hay wagon, and they'd put the hay around the edges so that the snakes couldn't get out.
Oh, these were live
And they'd
snakes.
put you in
still.
the hay wagon and time you how fast you could put them in the bag, and different things. And the kid events, I think I did the kid
Yowzers.
event. I used to have my parents probably still have it, but I did the snake hunt when I was a kid, and it was the kid level was garter snakes, and they put garter snakes in and you put them in the bag. But I'm pretty sure for the adults, maybe devenomized, I would imagine, but maybe not. I'm pretty sure they'd put you in there with a couple venomous snakes, and you would have to put them in a bag in a certain amount of time.
Well, I mean, some snakes you can get bit by, and it's not a big deal. But you
Yeah.
think these were rattlesnakes?
I'm pretty sure they were rattlesnaks.
I want to look this up. This is
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
fascinating.
Yeah, Landisburg Snake Hunt is what it was called. Yeah.
Okay.
Why'd they stop doing it?
Yeah, I guess because they changed the season. That's what I've heard because I've been asking for a long time. Like, why didn't this happen? But,
That's
but that was like, I guess, the weirdest thing. Ashakal, PA, actually apparently has the. I might be misquoting this, but the oldest running Memorial Day parade in the country, and it goes from one graveyard to the other, which is like maybe 2 miles in the town of Eshkol, which is from like. It's when you're driving. Recently, this is kind of like a folklore. Somebody put up signs in Eshkol under the original sign that says the birthplace of Zach King, as a joke, I guess. And from one sign to the other sign is the Memorial Day parade every
That's
single
great.
year. And,
That's great. So it begins at Zach King and ends at Zach
and
King.
ends. I think there's still. I think someone took one of the signs down,
That's funny.
maybe as a souvenir or something. But
I would love to be like, well, we've got a surprise for you, and then just throw a bunch of snakes in the room with you guys. And
yeah, personally, I love that kind of thing. I'm
You know
big
that-
into snake handling.
the goat race. Really? Like, I did see a picture of you with a snake on your Instagram.
Yeah, that was actually at a birthday party.
Okay.
Or it was a family reunion that I played, rather, and they had some reptile guy hired
Oh.
to entertain the kids, and he brought out this like massive python, and I was like, "This is the coolest family reunion I've ever been at."
Did you ever hold a tarantula before?
Not a tarantula. No,
Okay.
no.
I used to work at a library briefly, and they had like an insect person come in, and
Okay.
after she was done, she's like, "Do you want to hold the tarantula?" I was like, and she's like, "Here," and she
Yeah.
just brought it over and like let her crawl up my. And I was fine with it. Like I was
Yeah.
actually kind of okay. Like for some reason, those are more like animals than they are insects
I
because they're
just-
so big?
They move a little faster. That's all.
They move really slow until they move fast.
Yeah.
And then that's like
That's the
you know,
danger zone,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean they like jump when they
Yeah.
want to bite something. But
Yeah, Ross can attest. I went heavy down the snake handling rabbit hole for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like snake handling as in
like,
the
like the churches
you
and the
wanted
things
them
like that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool music associated with those.
Wow, that's interesting. I
With
bet
those
there is.
churches, yeah.
Wow. That is fascinating.
You're speaking tongues and everything. I was like, Zach, you got to check yourself in.
Nice. You could do a whole song just in tongues.
Yeah, I'm in.
The goat race has had a tobacco spitting contest for the adults.
Oh, okay.
And then a Tootsie Roll spitting contest for the kids. So there was sort of an
That's
analogy.
awesome.
Yeah,
build you up for it. Yeah,
I never did either. But
that's awesome.
just some real quick non-music questions. These are just completely random. What's your favorite local restaurant in the area? And everyone can take this.
Oh my gosh.
And it's whatever area you're from. You know.
Yeah, well, that's so hard.
You already met. I don't know if Blaine's was your.
Yeah, I'll stick by that one.
Okay.
Stand by Blaine Hotel. Or Ickersburg Sportsman's Club, but it's only open 3 months out of the year.
What is it called?
Ickersburg Sportsman's Club.
Okay.
That's where I've been going lately. It's like a 3-month breakfast they do every Saturday
Nice.
to raise money for trout stocking and stuff.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's a good one.
I don't go to many restaurants. I would have to say like Mama Spriggs in Carlisle.
Okay.
That's a
We
good
had
one.
lunch.
Have you ever been there?
Had lunch
To
there.
say
I like it.
what? To say that's a good one. I like that.
I just that was the last thing I was expecting you to say.
response. What?
That's the last thing I was expecting.
I'm thinking of a restaurant, not a bar.
Wow, Ross is trying
Except
not
for
to
that.
mention bars.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I don't
It's not like super
Yeah.
important you have an answer, so
Yeah.
you don't have to answer.
Sturgis. You guys been to Sturgis Speakeasy in Harrisburg?
I haven't been there, but I hear a lot about it. Yeah.
Love that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super old, lots of history,
That's cool. Yeah, no, I never heard of that.
lots of good feels. Kind of like Chicks. You walk in, you kind of know everybody. Everyone's in
Okay.
town. Everyone's super friendly.
I think some of our reporters used to go there a lot.
Yeah. Great food. It's a good spot.
That's
Mama
cool.
Spriggs, dude. What do you get there?
They have like this apple cider chicken salad thing.
Oh,
Oh, that sounds
Really
good.
good.
that's not good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
What's the smartphone app that you use the most?
Oh,
I can answer that. I do a lot of outdoor stuff. Like I do a lot of fishing. I have a little bass boat. So like the Susquehanna, I have a couple apps for like just doing redneck things. So probably OnX. OnX is awesome because it gives you like, it's like a map. It shows you the area and it
Yeah.
shows you like you can just I don't know you can learn a lot about an area by a satellite image. It's a real descriptive, detailed satellite image and it shows you like who owns the properties and all that
Oh,
stuff.
that's cool.
That's
Interesting.
So between hunting and fishing, I'm on that app
Yeah.
quite a bit. Sometimes I just be walking through the woods. And it's great because you don't have the like overwhelming fear of getting lost anymore when you're in the woods. Like you can't get lost as long as you have your phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so sometimes I'll just be walking through the woods and just like I have my phone up and I've just seen trees I've never seen before,
yeah.
ever. You get real confident with it. Same thing with, being out on the river. Like I can see where I'm at and I can just hit these spots. And I love OnX.
Well,
That sounds cool.
that's a good. That's like an actual healthy use of your smartphone. You know, as
Yeah.
compared to like scrolling on TikTok or something
Other than
like
that,
that.
it's 8-ball pool, probably.
8-Ball Pool is a solid app.
Yeah, I've never played this one before. I'm
Oh
looking it
yeah,
up.
8-Ball Pool is solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Write that down.
It's just an internet pool game. You can
That's
play
fun.
people all over.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have
Good
anyone they
friends.
want to share? You don't have to.
I'm gonna get scolded again for choosing the wrong app.
What's your app? What's your app of choice? I want to hear it.
Probably a BPM thing.
Oh, the beats per minute? Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
must.
It's probably what I use the most. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Little metronome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hit all my social media apps on my phone and put a time limit on them so that way I can't
That's good.
do the doom scrolling thing because I was real bad at that.
So
Yeah.
easy to fall into it.
Right now I'm addicted to newspapers.com. It's not an app, but
Oh.
it's like an ancestry.com thing.
Yeah, I've been
you
on
can
that site.
search like newspapers like crazy.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot with like those old bands like we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially on that radio show, they mention a lot of events and stuff. And so I was like digging around on there to try and find the ads in the newspaper and stuff. And I found a lot of the
That's a great
stuff
idea.
that was mentioned. And
Is that free?
and
Do you have
bands.
to pay for any
You have
of
to
that?
pay for a subscription to Ancestry, and then it comes.
Oh,
with it.
okay. I see.
Yeah, my dad's he's big into genealogy, so I've been robbing his
Oh,
login
okay.
information. Yeah.
Riding on his account.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We kind of talked about some of this, but like, what are you guys into outside of music? You talked a little bit about like fishing and hunting and stuff like that. Anybody else have any hobbies outside of music?
Same thing. Yeah. Fishing.
Where we live, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drink, fish, play music.
We're right at the edge of the
Go
state
to work.
forest, so
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's miles and miles of roads. You can just drive and
Yeah.
walk to your heart's content.
Yeah. It's gorgeous up there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
Anything
is.
for you?
We're lucky where we live because like you can go to I go to Blaine for breakfast. You can go to Blaine and be there in 20 minutes if you take the main road.
Mm-hmm.
But you can take a right out of my driveway and just drive through the state forest for like an hour,
Yeah.
and it'll get you to the same place.
That's awesome.
But it's just a little more scenic.
Two different ways to get there.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool. Any podcasts anyone's listening to they're really into these days that they care to share?
Two
If
I
you're-
listen to a lot are Dollar Country. I'll shout it out.
Okay.
It's like another 45 radio show kind of podcast, I guess.
Nice.
He usually plays about 10 songs each episode all over the country. He digs like old 45s out.
Mm-hmm.
Frank the Drifter, he calls himself.
Nice.
And then Ross heard about this one. It's called Alabama Astronaut.
Okay.
It's all about the music of snake handling churches in Appalachia.
Really?
And it is a wild ride.
Wow. What's it
And,
called again?
what is it called? Alabama Astronaut, I think is what
Okay.
it's called.
That's
It's a musician guy named Abe Partridge who I met at a festival, and he told me all about this stuff, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I had listened to an episode or two by the time we met.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we just happened to be in Kentucky, and so we were going home, and he said, well, if you're really into this, I'll tell you where you can go. And he gave me a couple GPS locations to these churches.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with my girlfriend, and she wasn't really keen on going inside, but it was about 9 o'clock on Sunday, so we were about an hour off of service.
Uh-huh.
And we went to two different churches on our way home. Just checked them out and listened outside while they were doing their thing.
That's fascinating. I mean,
Um,
as far as I know, that's like a truly American
Very much so.
thing.
And I just am, there's all kinds of opinions on the people and the practices and stuff, but focusing truly on the music, which is what this podcast does, and it's kind of cool, puts light on it. And I guess Alan Lomax, who was a big guy who digitized a lot of stuff in folk music over the years for the government and such, he interacted with these groups of people, but he chose not to archive their music.
Really?
So a lot of it is not archived, and when they talk about it, a lot of it's just literally written in books, and they're
Yeah.
passing it on to each other.
That's interesting.
So it's pretty cool, and that is folk music, that is country music, like
Right.
in America. That's how it comes
It is
about.
like truly
you know?
roots music.
Very
you know
much
what I
so.
mean?
So
Yeah.
that's like, I guess you could say that's probably one of the last true original forms of roots music
Yeah.
right there.
That kind of goes back again to like, that's where you find, I feel like that's where you find American culture is in
Yeah.
those small
So
places.
like
and
you
that
said,
kind of thing,
it's very regionally centric, and because I don't know, I guess because you don't have access
yeah.
to things like other people would, or resources, and
Yeah. You
you
just
create your own.
Yeah. You don't have as much exposure to the outside world. And that's what culture is. Like you're just kind of,
Yeah.
whatever the people that are there, the geography of the area. I mean,
Yeah.
all that plays into it,
Yeah,
So-
it's like we keep joking about it all centering around chicks, but like if you kind of grew up in the area, like from a certain time to a certain time, like a lot of your life did revolve around chicks. You
Yeah.
know? Like that's just
that just sounds really cool.
It's just
I
how it
love
was.
that. Yeah.
you know.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for coming in. This was really awesome. I appreciate y'all taking the time to do this.
Thank you, man. This has been a real honor.
Awesome.
Well, I don't know what I'm looking for, but what I